Picher, once a bustling town in Oklahoma, was a central national lead and zinc mining hub. Today, it's infamous as one of America's most toxic ghost towns, a title it earned through tragic events. Many of its structures were either destroyed by fire, tornado, or abandoned, with some partially or entirely wrecked. The gorilla statue, a reminder of the city's 1994 soccer championship, now stands over an empty parking lot. Over the decades, Picher's population steadily declined, and it is now completely deserted. Delving into what led to this outcome and whether it was intentional sheds light on Picher's sad history. Located in northeastern Oklahoma near the Kansas border, the nearest populated areas to Picher are Commerce, Quapaw, and Miami, not to be confused with Miami, Florida. In 1920, Picher had a population of 9,726, but by 2010 it had plummeted to just 20. The town was founded almost overnight in 1913 after the discovery of lead and zinc ores. It was named after the owner of the Picher Lead Company, a private American manufacturing firm famous for its battery technologies. From 1917 to 1947, over $20 billion worth of ore was mined, with over half of the lead and zinc used in World War I coming from Picher. During the mining boom, life in Picher thrived, with over 14,000 people employed in the mines. However, the early 20th century mining methods were risky, with frequent cave-ins. After mining activities stopped, acid mine water began seeping into the nearby Tar Creek, and enormous piles of lead and zinc waste overshadowed the city. Toxic dust from these slag piles spread throughout the area, affecting residents' health, especially children who played on them. By 1979, mine contamination had destroyed much of the plant and animal life downstream, prompting intervention from the Environmental Protection Agency. Despite spending millions on cleanup, pollution from abandoned mines and slag piles persisted, with 34% of Picher's children suffering from lead poisoning. By the late 1930s, Picher's mineral extraction industry had dwindled, becoming unprofitable, and mining entirely stopped in 1967. Despite this, the toxic waste piles continued to pose severe health risks. A 2006 federal study revealed that over 159 homes, businesses, and public buildings were at risk of collapse due to subsidence. The federal government started buying out homes, helping over 200 families relocate by 2009. However, some residents stayed, either unwilling or unable to leave. In 2008, a powerful tornado hit the town, killing 7 people and worsening conditions. Despite the buyouts, a few stubborn residents remained, with the last one passing away in 2015, officially turning Picher into a ghost town. Today, Picher is a hazardous, abandoned town marked by boarded-up windows and "Do Not Enter" signs. While it's a notorious ghost town due to its toxic environment and consistently ranks among the world's most dangerous cities, Picher's story mirrors many other towns like Rhyolite in Nevada. Rhyolite, once one of Nevada's most prosperous mining towns, is now reduced to crumbling ruins and broken facades after its mining boom ended as quickly as it started. Nevada alone has over 600 ghost towns, most remnants of the region's mining era. Rhyolite's rise began with the discovery of gold by prospector Frank "Shorty" Harris in 1904, and it soon became a bustling town with grocery stores, saloons, and even modern conveniences like running water and electricity. But by 1910, the mines failed, and by 1920, only 14 residents remained. The stories of Picher and Rhyolite are not unique. St. Elmo in Colorado thrived in the 1880s, but soon declined as ore quality dropped. Kennecott in Alaska was established 1903 for copper mining, but was deserted by 1938. Bannack, Montana's former capital, saw its population surge during the gold rush but was abandoned once its resources dried up. Such stories of rise and fall are shared across the U.S., driven by a combination of economic collapse, resource depletion, and natural disasters. Science defines a ghost town as an abandoned settlement that still has visible buildings and infrastructure, such as roads. Ghost towns emerge when the economic activity that sustained them halts, leaving them uninhabited. Often, rapid industrialization leads to their rise, followed by an equally fast decline when resources dry up or industries move elsewhere. For many, ghost towns evoke images of the Wild West, when people flocked to remote areas for gold, silver, or oil. Between 1880 and 1940, westward expansion and industrialization fueled the creation of many of these towns, which now stand abandoned. In 2018, archaeologists conducted an extensive dig in ghost towns across Utah, Arizona, and Nevada, uncovering sites that revealed not all abandoned settlements were tied to mining. Some were religious outposts, railroad towns, or military forts. In the Pacific Northwest, many ghost towns were linked to fishing and logging. It's a misconception that all abandoned towns were deserted solely because their gold, silver, or oil reserves were depleted. In reality, the desolation of most ghost towns resulted from a complex mix of factors such as social issues, overuse of resources, and water shortages. Simply put, it's like the meteorite and the dinosaurs. It contributed to their extinction but wasn't the main reason. In other words, it was just a matter of timing. Now, I started wondering, with so many ghost towns just sitting there, slowly eroding over time, why aren't they demolished? Especially when modern mining companies also build temporary settlements with all the necessary amenities like dining and shopping. Once the mining ends, these modular towns are dismantled. They're set up quickly and taken down just as fast. But older ghost towns were built long ago, and back then, people didn't think about what to do with these settlements after they outlived their purpose. Or if they didn't act on it. So why are ghost towns still around today? Well, there are a few reasons. First, if the government doesn't own the property, they can't tear it down, improve it, or do anything else. That's up to the owner, assuming there is one. Now imagine a ghost town built in the 19th century. Who owns it? The original owners are probably long gone. Even if ownership can be traced, it leads to another reason why ghost towns are still standing. Often, companies or property owners simply can't afford the cost of demolishing them. There's the equipment, the labor, the time, and the money involved. In the end, tearing down ghost towns is just pouring money down the drain. Typically, the companies that built these settlements did so under a straightforward model. Spend money on a project and make more money from it. Adding demolition into that equation only increases costs without providing any benefit. You're just spending money with no return. What business person would approve of that? So, if demolition is too costly, why not go the other way and revive the town? Some ghost towns have been brought back to life for good reasons, like historical tourism, which creates a new economy supporting residents. When there's something to do in town, it can thrive. A good example is Walhalla in Australia. Once a gold mining hub, the mine shut down in 1914, and the town nearly became deserted. However, due to its accessibility and proximity to other attractions, Walhalla has recently experienced an economic and tourist boom. As of 2023, it had 20 permanent residents, but most homes are now used for tourist accommodations. Some ghost towns, like Rias in Italy and Manello in Spain, have been repopulated by refugees and homeless individuals. The U.S. has similar cases too, with Centralia, Pennsylvania, being one of the most well-known examples. You may have heard about it. It's been featured in many YouTube videos. Centralia was once a bustling coal mining community, but an underground coal fire that started in 1962 nearly wiped it out. The fire is still burning. Experts believe it could continue for another 250 years. While Centralia's population has dwindled from 1,500 to just 5 people, it has become a unique tourist attraction where visitors can witness the underground fire. Tourism seems to be the only viable path for reviving ghost towns. Restoring and resettling them for residents isn't practical without jobs, infrastructure, and economic incentives. Even though history shows that ghost towns can be revived, tourism has always been a driving factor. Interestingly, some ghost towns still have inhabitants, making it unclear whether the term ghost town is entirely accurate. The reasons for staying in such places vary. Some locals refuse to leave during relocation, remaining alone in the otherwise empty town. These people are sometimes called squatters, meaning they occupy a place without formal permission, even though they often live in their homes. Populations in ghost towns like this range from 3 to 12 people, so perhaps ghost town isn't the best description. Others move to these towns to study their history, or even try to revive them by opening attractions like saloons to bring in tourists. And some simply appreciate the peace. But there are other residents in ghost towns too. Wild animals that take over after humans leave. In Bodie, California, for instance, ground squirrels have found refuge in the high desert town, where gold mining once drew 10,000 people. Bodie was turned into a historic park in 1962, but climate change made the squirrels' usual habitat too warm and humid, so they relocated to Bodie. The town is perfect for these animals despite harsh conditions, like freezing temperatures and strong winds. Bodie is also home to pronghorn antelopes, coyotes, mule deer, badgers, jackrabbits, and bats, none of which seem bothered by the 200,000 tourists who visit each year. If I were a ground squirrel, I'd probably start charging for entry. Then there's Picher, Oklahoma, a dangerously unstable ghost town with collapsing buildings and sinkholes. Yet in 2022, it came to life briefly for the annual Christmas parade, an event held in the ghost town for 8 years. 2023, it likely happened again, as thousands gathered among the decaying structures to watch over 100 floats, antique trucks, and even Santa Claus himself parade down Main Street. For former residents, these events are a chance to reconnect with friends, though the town still doesn't seem safe. More ghost towns could be on the horizon. A recent study predicts that by 2100, nearly 30,000 U.S. cities might turn ghost towns due to declining birth rates and migration. Every state except Hawaii and Washington, D.C. could be affected. And in Japan, there's the opposite problem, a surplus of abandoned homes. Millions of these witch houses, as they're sometimes called, are scattered across rural areas. With only 1 in 10 Japanese people living outside the city, it's tough to find buyers for these homes, which are often old and run down. 6 years ago, a survey found around 82 million Akiya, vacant homes, which has undoubtedly increased. The issue began in the post-war period of rapid urbanization when homes were built quickly and not meant to last for generations. With Japan's aging population, 1/3 of citizens are over 65, many older homes are left to decay after their owners die or move into more accessible housing. Then, ghost towns resurface, like Whiskey Flat in California. It's the classic gold rush town, with bloody conflicts between prospectors and Native Americans and about $12 million in gold extracted. In 1954, the city was flooded by the creation of Lake Isabella Reservoir. But during a recent drought, Whiskey Flat re-emerged as the water level dropped to 8%. People marveled at the sight, though the ghost town has since sunk underwater as the lake filled up again in 2023 due to snowmelt from the Sierra Nevada mountains.